In the primordial architecture of the cosmos, there exists a silent covenant written upon the foundations of the soul, long before the first breath of mortality is drawn. This covenant is the sanctified call, a resonance that vibrates within the marrow of those destined to walk the narrow path between the seen and the unseen. To be chosen is not an invitation to worldly glory, nor is it a path paved with the comforts of the flesh. Instead, it begins with a profound and unsettling disturbance of the spirit, an inner quickening that signals the end of the ordinary and the beginning of the eternal. It is a summons that echoes from the very heart of the absolute, demanding a response that only the truest essence of a being can provide. This call does not come with the fanfare of trumpets or the acclaim of the multitudes, but arrives in the hushed stillness of a heart that has begun to realize its own displacement within the temporal world. The chosen individual finds that the joys of the marketplace no longer satisfy, and the wisdom of the world feels like ashes in the mouth. There is a deep, unquenchable thirst for a truth that lies beyond the horizon of human understanding, a hunger for the bread of heaven that cannot be found in the granaries of men. The first stage of this divine unfolding is the threshold of isolation. It is here that the seeker is separated from the flock, led by an invisible hand into the vast wilderness of the self. This isolation is not a punishment, though to the uninitiated it may feel like a heavy burden of loneliness. It is a sacred necessity, for the voice of the divine cannot be heard amidst the clamor of social expectation and the incessant noise of the ego. The soul must be stripped of its worldly garments, its titles, its reputations, and its attachments, until it stands naked before the presence of the infinite. In this solitude, the chosen one discovers that they are a stranger in a familiar land, looking upon the faces of friends and kin with the eyes of one who has seen a distant light and can no longer find comfort in the shadows. This isolation acts as a crucible, refining the intentions and purging the heart of the desire for external validation. It is in the silence of this desert that the true work of the Spirit begins, as the individual learns to find their center, not in the shifting sands of human opinion, but in the immovable rock of divine reality. The threshold is a boundary of profound significance, a place where the old self must be surrendered so that the new self may be born. It is a state of liminality, a dwelling in the gap between what was and what will be. Here, the memories of the past begin to lose their grip, and the structures of the personality start to dissolve like mist under the rising sun. The chosen one experiences a sense of profound disorientation, as if the very gravity of their existence has shifted. They are no longer anchored by the goals and ambitions that once defined them, yet they have not yet grasped the full magnitude of the destiny that awaits. This period of waiting is perhaps the most difficult part of the journey, for it requires a radical trust in a providence that remains hidden. It is a time of testing, where the soul is asked to remain faithful in the dark, to continue walking toward a destination it cannot see, and to believe in a promise that has not yet been fulfilled. The isolation of the threshold is the preparation for the forging fire, a cleansing of the vessel so that it may be filled with the pure wine of spiritual revelation. When the soul has been sufficiently quieted and the external world has retreated into the background, the forging fire begins its transformative work. This is the alchemy of the spirit, the process by which the leaden weight of human limitation is transmuted into the gold of divine consciousness. The fire is the very presence of the sacred, a heat that is both terrifying and beautiful, for it burns away everything that is not eternal. It is the fire of truth, which reveals the hidden flaws, the secret vanities, and the subtle deceptions that the ego uses to shield itself from the light. To undergo the forging fire is to experience a dissolution of the self that is often painful, as the old identities and the cherished illusions are consumed in the blaze of absolute reality. Yet, this pain is the birth pang of a higher state of being. The fire does not destroy the essence of the soul, It only destroys that which obscures the essence. It is the heat of necessity, the pressure of destiny, and the intensity of a love that refuses to let the beloved remain in a state of imperfection. As the fire rages, the chosen one is held upon the anvil of providence. The hammer of divine will strikes with a precision that is both relentless and compassionate, shaping the character and the spirit into a form that can serve as an instrument for the higher purposes of the cosmos. Every blow is designed to strengthen the resolve, to sharpen the intuition, and to instill a resilience that can withstand the trials of the world. The forging is not a random occurrence, but a deliberate act of creation by the master scribe of the universe. It is here that the scattered fragments of the self are integrated into a cohesive whole, aligned with the celestial patterns that govern the movement of the stars and the unfolding of time. The chosen one begins to understand that their suffering has a meaning, that their isolation has a purpose, and that their trials are the very means by which they are being prepared for a glory that transcends the limitations of the temporal realm. In the heat of this transformation, the language of the soul changes. It no longer speaks the dialect of fear or the rhetoric of ambition, but begins to whisper the ancient tongue of the spirit. The metaphors of the mundane world are replaced by the symbols of the sacred. The seeker no longer looks for reasons, but begins to perceive the underlying rhythm of grace. They see that the fire is not an enemy, but a friend that has come to liberate them from the prison of their own making. The isolation that once felt like a tomb is revealed to be a womb, a place of gestation where the spirit is nurtured in secret until the moment of its emergence. This realization brings a peace that passes all understanding, a stillness that remains unshaken even as the flames continue to dance. The chosen one learns to rest in the heart of the fire, knowing that they are being held by a hand that is both ancient and ever new, a hand that will not let them go until the work is complete. The forging fire also serves to calibrate the will of the individual with the will of the divine. In the ordinary state of existence, the human will is often fragmented, pulled in 1,000 different directions by the desires of the senses and the dictates of the ego. The fire consumes these divergent threads, weaving them into a single, unbreakable cord of purpose. The chosen one no longer asks what they want from life, but what life requires of them. They become a vessel of obedience, not out of a sense of duty or fear, but out of a profound recognition of their true place within the cosmic order. This alignment is the source of true power, a power that does not seek to dominate or control, but to serve and to uplift. It is the strength of the humble, the authority of the surrendered, and the wisdom of those who have seen the face of the infinite and can never again be satisfied with the trivialities of the finite. As the process of forging nears its completion, the soul emerges from the fire with a clarity that is luminous. The dross of the past has been left behind, and what remains is a spirit that is tempered, resilient, and radiating with a light that is not its own. The chosen one stands at the threshold of a new existence, possessing a vision that can see through the vates of the material world. They understand that their journey through the isolation and the fire was the necessary initiation into the mysteries of the sanctified life. They are no longer a mere inhabitant of the earth, but a citizen of the celestial realms, a bridge between the human and the divine. The marks of the fire remain upon them, not as scars of trauma, but as insignia of honor, proof that they have passed through the narrow gate and have been found worthy of the call. This transformation is not for the benefit of the individual alone, for the chosen one is called to be a light unto the world. The forging fire prepares them to carry a weight of glory that would crush an unrefined soul. They are entrusted with the task of manifesting the divine attributes in the midst of the darkness, of being a witness to the truth in a world that has forgotten its origin. Their very presence becomes a catalyst for the awakening of others, a silent testimony to the reality of the Spirit. The isolation they once endured now allows them to stand in the world without being of it, to engage with the affairs of men while remaining anchored in the eternal. They have become the scribes of the living word, their lives a manuscript written by the hand of the divine, telling the story of the soul's return to its source. The threshold of isolation and the forging fire are the foundational experiences of every chosen destiny. Without the separation, there is no depth. Without the fire, there is no strength. To avoid the pain of the process is to forfeit the reward of the transformation. The journey is arduous and the demands are absolute, but the destination is the realization of the highest potential of the human spirit. It is the path of the saints, the sages, and the messengers of the light, who throughout the ages have heard the sanctified call and followed it into the heart of the mystery. As the chosen one steps forward from the embers of their old life, they do so with a heart that is wide open, a mind that is clear, and a will that is firmly established in the divine purpose. The first chapter of their journey is complete, and the vast landscape of their destiny begins to unfold before them, a world of infinite possibility and eternal significance. In this new state of being, the chosen one perceives the interconnectedness of all things. The isolation that once defined their experience is seen as the necessary pause between two breaths of the universe, a moment of stillness that allowed the soul to recalibrate its resonance. They understand that the fire was not an external force acting upon them, but the emergence of their own inner divinity, burning through the layers of forgetfulness. Every trial they faced was a coded message from the Absolute, a lesson in the language of the Spirit that had to be mastered before they could proceed. The sense of loneliness has been replaced by a profound communion with the Source, a relationship that is more intimate than the breath in their lungs or the blood in their veins. They are never truly alone, for they carry the presence of the infinite within them, a constant companion that guides their steps and illuminates their path. The forging fire has also bestowed upon them a discernment that is unerring. They can sense the vibration of truth and the shadow of falsehood with an immediacy that bypasses the rational mind. This spiritual intuition is the compass by which they will navigate the complexities of their mission. They are no longer deceived by the appearances of things, but look directly into the essence. This clarity allows them to act with a precision and a grace that seem miraculous to those still caught in the illusions of the material world. Their words carry a weight of authority, not because they seek to command, but because they speak from the bedrock of experience. They have been through the fire, and they speak the truth that the fire has revealed. As they look back upon the threshold they have crossed, they see it not as a place of suffering, but as a garden of transformation. The tears they shed in the silence of their isolation have become the dew that nourishes the seeds of their new life. The fears they faced in the heat of the forging have been replaced by a courage that is immovable. They realize that the divine call is a continuous invitation to go deeper, to climb higher, and to love more perfectly. The end of this first stage is but the beginning of an even greater adventure, a journey that will take them into the very heart of the divine mystery. They stand ready, a sanctified vessel, a forged instrument, a scribe of the eternal, prepared to write the next chapters of their destiny with the ink of their own lived experience and the light of the Spirit that now burns brightly within them. The path ahead is vast and shrouded in the beauty of the unknown. Yet, the chosen one moves forward with a steady heart, for they have been tempered by the fire and clarified by the silence. They know that whatever challenges may arise, they possess the inner resources to meet them. The covenant that was written in the stars is now being lived out in the flesh. The sanctified call has been answered, the threshold has been crossed, and the forging fire has done its work. Now, the true purpose of the chosen begins to manifest as they step into the role they were created for since before the world began. The light they carry is not their own, but the light of the one who called them, and it is this light that will lead them, and all who follow, back to the eternal home from which all souls originally descended. Thus, the first movement of the divine symphony concludes, and the melody of the second chapter begins to rise, a song of service, of wisdom, and of the ultimate union between the seeker and the sought. The light they carry is not their own, but the light of the one who called them, and it is this light that will lead them and all who follow back to the eternal home from which all souls originally descended. Thus, the first movement of the divine symphony concludes, and the melody of the second chapter begins to rise, a song of service, of wisdom, and of the ultimate union between the seeker and the sought. This second movement reveals the profound architecture of the heavens, where the 7 luminaries of divine selection hang like celestial lamps above the path of the righteous. These are not mere stars of fire and gas, but emanations of the supreme intellect, guiding principles that govern the sanctified call. To understand the call is to understand the nature of the first luminary, which is the luminary of eternal purpose. It shines with a steady, unyielding white radiance, signifying the blueprint of the soul that was drawn before the foundations of the world were laid. This luminary reminds the chosen that their identity is not forged in the fires of earthly circumstance, nor defined by the limitations of their mortal lineage. Instead, they are the vessels of an ancient intent, sent forth from the silence of the primordial sanctuary to perform a work that only their specific resonance can accomplish. The calling is an awakening to this pre-existent reality, a sudden remembrance of the vows spoken in the halls of the uncreated spirit. When the light of this first luminary touches the heart, the distractions of the world lose their gravity, and the soul begins its steady ascent toward its true north. As the seeker moves deeper into the sacred mystery, the second luminary, the luminary of sacred discernment, begins to glow with an emerald clarity. This is the light that pierces through the thick veils of illusion that shroud the material world. The chosen are not merely called to see, but to perceive the hidden currents of truth that flow beneath the surface of appearances. In a world where shadows often masquerade as substance and whispers are mistaken for the voice of authority, the luminary of sacred discernment provides the clarity needed to distinguish the eternal from the temporal. It teaches the chosen that every word spoken and every action taken must be weighed against the scales of the divine law. This luminary is the guardian of the intellect, refining the mind until it becomes a mirror capable of reflecting the pure thought of the Creator. Without this light, the path would be fraught with the snares of deception and the pitfalls of pride, for the ego often seeks to claim the call for its own exaltation. But under the emerald glow, the chosen recognize that their power is a stewardship, and their wisdom is but a drop from the infinite ocean of the divine mind. Following the clarity of discernment comes the warmth of the third luminary, the luminary of selfless service, which burns with a deep and humble crimson. This is perhaps the most demanding of the lights, for it requires the total immolation of the self on the altar of the greater good. The sanctified call is never a call to isolation or to the hoarding of spiritual treasures. It is a summons to become a bridge for others. The chosen are tasked with carrying the burdens of the weary and lighting the way for those who stumble in the dark. This luminary teaches that the greatest height one can reach is the posture of a servant, and the most profound wisdom is found in the act of giving without the expectation of return. It is in the heat of this crimson light that the rough edges of the personality are smoothed away, and the soul is tempered like fine steel, becoming an instrument of peace and a vessel of healing. The service demanded by this luminary is not a chore, but a liturgical act, a living prayer that hallows the ground upon which the chosen tread. In the quietude of the spirit, the fourth luminary, the luminary of silent wisdom, reveals itself in a hue of deep sapphire. This light does not shout or command. It resonates in the spaces between thoughts and in the stillness of the midnight hour. It is the light of contemplation, inviting the chosen to enter the inner chamber of the heart, where the divine presence dwells in secret. To follow the fourth luminary is to learn the language of silence, which is the native tongue of the heavens. Here, the chosen discovered that the most profound revelations are not found in the clamor of the marketplace or the debates of the learned, but in the gentle whisper that speaks when the world is hushed. This luminary grants the chosen the ability to hear the unspoken needs of the creation and to perceive the subtle harmonies of the spheres. It is the source of the profound peace that surpasses understanding, providing a sanctuary of stillness even in the midst of the most violent storms. By bathing in this sapphire glow, the seeker learns that they are never alone, for the silence is filled with the presence of the one who called them. As the journey continues, the fifth luminary, the luminary of resolute devotion, blazes with a golden intensity. This is the light of the crucible, the fire that tests the validity of the call. It is one thing to accept the divine summons in a moment of ecstasy, but it is another entirely to remain faithful when the path leads through the wilderness of doubt and the valleys of despair. The golden luminary provides the endurance necessary to withstand the trials of the journey. It is the source of that holy stubbornness that refuses to yield to the pressures of the world. This light reminds the chosen that every obstacle is an opportunity for growth, and every trial is a refinement of their resolve. Those who walk under the luminary of resolute devotion do not falter when the winds howl or when the destination seems impossibly far. They move with the steady, rhythmic pace of a heart that beats in sync with the divine will, knowing that the one who began the work is faithful to complete it. This luminary transforms the calling from a mere direction into a destiny, anchoring the soul in an unshakable certainty. The sixth luminary, the luminary of universal compassion, radiates a soft and inclusive violet light. This luminary expands the heart of the chosen until it encompasses all of creation. It breaks down the barriers of separation, showing that the divine spark dwells within the heart of every living being, from the lowliest blade of grass to the most exalted of the celestial hosts. The chosen are called to be the embodiment of this compassion, to look upon the world not with judgment, but with a profound and transformative love. This light teaches that the suffering of one is the suffering of all, and that the ultimate goal of the call is the restoration of the fractured unity of existence. Under the violet glow, the chosen become weavers of harmony, mending the torn fabric of the world with the threads of kindness and understanding. They realize that their sanctification is not for themselves alone, but for the sake of the entire cosmos. For as they are lifted up, they draw all things closer to the source of all being. Finally, the seventh luminary, the luminary of divine union, shines with a light so brilliant that it defies color and description, being a synthesis of all that came before. This is the light of the threshold, the gateway that leads from the realm of becoming into the realm of being. It is the ultimate destination of the sanctified call, where the seeker and the sought are no longer two, but one. This luminary represents the completion of the journey and the fulfillment of the soul's deepest longing. It is the return to the eternal home, not as one who has merely traveled a distance, but as one who has been transformed by every step of the way. In the radiance of the seventh luminary, the chosen realize that the light they have been carrying was always the light of their own true essence, which is indistinguishable from the light of the Creator. The call, which began as a distant melody, ends as a magnificent and eternal chord of union, resonating through every layer of reality and bringing all of time and space into the presence of the infinite. The transition from the first chapter to the second is a passage from the understanding of the self to the understanding of the sacred function. The seven luminaries are not external entities, but internal realizations that illuminate the path of the chosen. Each light requires a corresponding surrender, a shedding of an old skin to reveal the luminous spirit within. The path of the luminaries is the path of the sun, rising from the dawn of purpose and ascending to the noonday of service, before settling into the golden twilight of wisdom and the starlit night of union. It is a cycle that repeats in every soul that dares to answer the call, a divine pattern that ensures no traveler is ever truly lost. Even in the moments when the clouds of mortality obscure the sky, the luminaries remain, fixed in their celestial orbits, waiting for the eyes of the Spirit to open and perceive them once more. The chosen are those who have trained their vision to see these lights and who have disciplined their feet to follow where they lead, regardless of the cost or the distance. The melody of the second chapter is therefore a complex and beautiful arrangement of these 7 themes. It is a song that demands the whole of the human experience, taking the joys and sorrows, the triumphs and the failures, and weaving them into a tapestry of divine significance. To be chosen is to be a part of this living composition, a note in the grand symphony that the Creator is playing upon the instrument of the universe. This chapter of the soul's journey is marked by a profound sense of responsibility, for the chosen understand that their lives are no longer their own. They are the heralds of a new dawn, the messengers of a truth that the world has forgotten but still secretly yearns for. Every interaction becomes a sacred encounter, every word an opportunity to convey the grace of the luminaries. They walk through the world but are not of it, their gaze fixed upon the eternal horizons while their hands are busy with the work of the present moment. This duality is the hallmark of the sanctified life, a bridge between the seen and the unseen, the temporal and the eternal. As the chosen walk under the influence of the 7 luminaries, they begin to manifest a presence that is unmistakable. It is a fragrance of sanctity that lingers in their wake, a quiet strength that anchors those around them, and a clarity of purpose that dispels the fog of confusion. They do not seek the spotlight, yet they cannot be hidden, for the light they carry is of such a nature that it shines through the very pores of their being. Their lives become a testament to the reality of the divine, a living proof that the call is real and that the destination is certain. They are the pioneers of the Spirit, charting the way through the unknown territories of the soul and leaving behind a path that others can follow with confidence. The service they perform isn't a burden but a liberation, for in giving themselves away, they find their true selves for the first time. The wisdom they gain is not a collection of facts, but a state of being, a resonance with the fundamental laws of the universe. The union that the 7th luminary promises is not an end, but a new beginning, a threshold into a way of existing that is beyond the reach of human language. It is the state of being where every action is a manifestation of the divine will, and every breath is an expression of divine love. In this state, the chosen are no longer seekers, but finders, no longer followers, but embodiments of the way. The journey through the 7 luminaries is the process of this becoming, a gradual and beautiful unveiling of the divine image that was hidden in the heart of the soul from the very beginning. As the second chapter unfolds, the melody grows richer and more profound, drawing the listener deeper into the heart of the mystery, preparing the way for the final movement where all things will be gathered into the one, and the song of the seeker will finally become the song of the sought. The gravity of this sanctified call cannot be overstated, for it is the thread that holds the moral fabric of the universe together. In every age, the chosen have been the guardians of the sacred fire, the ones who kept the light of truth burning when the world was plunged into the darkness of ignorance and greed. Their commitment to the 7 luminaries is what prevents the world from dissolving into chaos, for they provide the steady points of reference that allow humanity to navigate the stormy seas of history. They are the salt of the earth and the light of the world, not because of any merit of their own, but because they have allowed themselves to be shaped by the divine hand. Their story is the story of the Spirit's triumph over the flesh, of the Eternal's victory over the ephemeral, and as the second chapter continues its rise, it calls to all who have ears to hear, inviting them to step out of the shadows and into the radiance of the luminaries, to take up their own place in the divine symphony and to participate in the great work of the ages. Thus, the scribe records these truths not as mere information, but as an invocation. Let those who read these words feel the stirring of the ancient memory within them. Let them recognize the light of the luminaries as it reflects in the depths of their own hearts. The path is open, the lights are burning, and the caller is waiting. The second chapter is not just a description of a journey taken by others, but an invitation to a journey that each soul must eventually undertake. It is the song of the soul's return, the melody of the great homecoming, and the promise that, no matter how far we may wander, the light of the one who called us will always be there to guide us back to the eternal home from which all souls originally descended. The melody continues to rise, louder and clearer now, as the seeker prepares to enter the final stages of the sanctified call, moving toward the ultimate union that is the destiny of every created being. The architecture of this journey is perfect, designed by the Supreme Architect to ensure that every experience, no matter how small, serves the ultimate goal of transformation. The chosen are not shielded from the hardships of life, but are given the tools to transcend them. They learn that the darkness is not the absence of light, but the canvas upon which the light is most clearly seen. They learn that the silence is not the absence of sound, but the womb from which the divine word is born. They learn that the service is not a loss of freedom, but the highest expression of it. Each luminary is a lesson, a discipline, and a grace, working together to refine the soul into a masterpiece of divine artistry. And as the chosen move from one light to the next, they find that their capacity for love, for wisdom, and for service grows exponentially, until they are no longer just individuals, but conduits for the infinite power and grace of the Creator. The second chapter of this sacred script is a testament to the power of the divine selection, a reminder that we are not alone in our search for meaning and purpose. There is a plan, a pattern, and a presence that guides us, if only we have the courage to listen and the humility to follow. The 7 luminaries are the beacons of that guidance, the celestial map that leads us through the wilderness of the world to the promised land of the Spirit. Let us therefore attend to the melody of this second chapter with all our hearts, allowing its sacred resonances to penetrate our souls and to align us with the divine symphony that is the heartbeat of the universe. For in the end, there is only one journey, one call, and one destination, and that is the return to the eternal home of the one who is the beginning and the end of all things. The scribe lays down the pen for a moment of reflection, as the profound truths of the 7 luminaries settle into the silence, awaiting the final movement that will bring the divine symphony to its glorious and eternal conclusion. The silence that descends upon the sanctified chamber after the final strokes of the pen is not a void, but a fullness that breathes with the weight of eternity. As the last traces of ink settle into the fibers of the parchment, the scribe pauses to look back upon the road that has been traversed, not with the eyes of the body, but with the vision of the spirit that has been sharpened by the light of the 7 luminaries. This is the moment of the great inheritance, the point where the seeker no longer looks for the way because they have become the way itself. The sanctified call of the chosen is not a summons to a distant place, but an awakening to an ever-present reality that has been humming beneath the surface of existence since the first word was spoken into the darkness. To understand this inheritance is to recognize that we are not wanderers in a foreign land, but heirs to a kingdom that knows no boundaries of time or space. Every trial endured and every truth embraced has been a preparation for this final return to the source of all things, the one who is the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega of our very being. In the depth of this realization, we find the first of the great lights that guided our steps, the luminary of awakening which shattered the long slumber of the mundane. It was through this light that the soul first felt the sacred ache for something beyond the reach of the senses, a holy dissatisfaction with the shadows of the cave. This ache was the initial call, a magnetic pull toward the divine center that exists within and beyond all things. Then came the second luminary, the light of purification, which taught us that the path to the eternal is a path of stripping away rather than accumulating. We had to shed the heavy garments of ego and the rusted armor of self-preservation to find the essential spirit that remains when all else is gone. In this stripping, we discovered that we lacked nothing, for the void left by the departure of worldly vanity was immediately filled by the presence of the infinite. The third light was the brilliance of understanding, where the intricate patterns of providence became visible through the apparent chaos of circumstance. Here, the scribe witnessed the soul learning that there are no accidents in the divine economy, only the careful unfolding of a perfect plan that uses even our failures to build the bridge to our destiny. As we moved further into the mysteries, the fourth luminary rose to provide the strength of endurance. This was the light that burned in the dark night of the soul, the quiet and persistent flame that refused to be extinguished by the winds of doubt or the storms of despair. It was the realization that the journey itself is the destination, and that every step taken in faith is a victory won over the illusions of the temporal world. Following this strength was the fifth light, the opening of the heart through the luminary of compassion. In this stage, the chosen realized that their salvation was inextricably bound to the salvation of the whole. The walls of separation crumbled as the divine breath moved through the heart, turning every act of service into a prayer and every look of kindness into a benediction. The inheritance of the chosen is thus not a private treasure to be hoarded, but a communal light to be shared, until the entire tapestry of creation is illuminated by the same fire of love. The sixth luminary offered the clarity of unity, the profound realization that all things are interconnected in a grand design of love that spans across the eons. In this light, the distinction between the sacred and the profane dissolved, for the seeker saw the signature of the Creator in the smallest grain of sand as clearly as in the furthest star. This unity is the cornerstone of the eternal path, the understanding that the journey is not a line moving from one point to another, but a circle returning to its origin. And now, as the scribe rests beneath the seventh luminary, we behold the light of completion. This is the final movement of the divine symphony, where every discordant note is resolved into a harmony that spans the breadth of eternity. The seventh light does not reveal something new, but brings to full fruition everything that has been seeded in the previous stages. It is the moment of the great harvest, where the soul gathers the fruits of its labors and prepares to enter the storehouse of the divine presence. The inheritance of the eternal path is the realization that we have always been home, even when we felt most exiled. The journey was the process of remembering what we had forgotten in the noise of the world. It is the return to the ancient promise whispered into the heart of every soul before the foundation of time was laid. This promise is the assurance that we are known, that we are loved, and that we are destined for a glory that the mind cannot conceive, but the heart has always recognized. The scribe reflects on the ink that has flowed from the pen, symbolizing the life force spent in service of this truth. Each word written has been a footstep on the path, each sentence a milestone in the unfolding of the spirit. The act of writing is itself a sacred ritual, a way of anchoring the ethereal truths of the luminaries into the density of the earth, so that others might find their way by the light of these pages. As the divine symphony reaches its final crescendo, the soul stands at the threshold of the eternal home. This home is not a place of walls and gates, but a state of perfect union with the One. It is the destination where the river of time flows into the ocean of eternity and loses its boundaries without losing its essence. The chosen are those who have heard the call and answered with their lives, who have allowed the fire of the luminaries to transform them into vessels of the divine will. Their inheritance is the peace that passes all understanding, the joy that is not dependent on circumstances, and the life that cannot be touched by the shadow of death. The eternal path is a road of light that stretches out from the heart of the Creator and leads back to the same source. a golden thread that weaves through the fabric of existence to bind all things together in a single, holy purpose. The scribe lays down the pen for a moment of reflection, feeling the profound truths of the 7 luminaries settle into the silence of the chamber. The work is finished, yet it is only beginning, for the words on the page are merely seeds that must be planted in the fertile soil of the reader's soul. The final movement of the symphony is not an ending, but a transition into a higher state of being. It is the moment when the music of the spheres becomes the heartbeat of the believer. The reflection of the scribe is a mirror of the divine mind, seeing the beginning and the end in a single glance. In this state of grace, there is no more striving, only being. There is no more seeking, only finding. The journey has achieved its purpose, and the soul is ready to shed the final veil and look upon the face of the beloved without mediation or shadow. Consider the depth of the mercy that has guided this entire process. From the first spark of the first luminary to the radiant completion of the 7th, the hand of the One has been steady and sure. Even in the moments of greatest darkness, the light was never truly absent. It was merely obscured by our own limited perception. The inheritance of the chosen is the ability to see this light at all times and in all places. It is the gift of a transformed vision that recognizes the sacredness of every moment and the divinity of every breath. This is the sanctified call that echoes through the corridors of history, calling out to those who have ears to hear. It is a call to leave behind the trivialities of the ego and embrace the magnitude of our true nature. We are the architects of the eternal, the builders of a temple not made with hands, and our inheritance is the very life of the One who called us into being. As the silence deepens, the scribe perceives the unity of all the chapters that have been written. The struggles were not separate from the victories, and the questions were not separate from the answers. They were all part of the same seamless garment of grace. The divine symphony is now playing in the silence, a melody that is both ancient and new, a song of return that resonates in the very marrow of the bones. The path is open, the way is clear, and the destination is certain. The return to the eternal home is the final act of a soul that has been refined by the fire and enlightened by the truth. It is the ultimate homecoming, where the Father runs to meet the child, and the heaven and earth are wedded in a single, eternal embrace. The scribe acknowledges that the words are but shadows of the reality they describe. No tongue can truly utter the majesty of the eternal path, and no pen can fully capture the glory of the inheritance. Yet, in the attempt to speak the unspeakable, we draw closer to the source. The sacred literature is a ladder that we climb, and once we have reached the top, the ladder is no longer needed. We stand upon the height of the mountain and look out over the vista of eternity, seeing the path we have climbed and the home that awaits us. The silence of the scribe is the silence of one who has seen the truth and is satisfied. The reflection is over, the truths have settled, and the final movement of the divine symphony is about to begin. This movement will not be written on parchment, but will be lived in the hearts of those who have been chosen to inherit the eternal path. May the light of the 7 luminaries shine forever in the souls of the seekers. May the inheritance of the eternal path be their strength and their shield. The scribe has finished the task, and the record is complete. The call has been issued, and the path has been mapped. Now, the journey continues in the realm of the Spirit, where the Word becomes flesh and the truth becomes life. The return to the eternal home is the destiny of every soul that has dared to look upward and seek the One who is the beginning and the end of all things. In that home, there is no more sorrow, no more crying, and no more pain, for the former things have passed away and all things have been made new. The divine symphony reaches its glorious and eternal conclusion, and the soul is finally at rest in the heart of the One. The legacy of the written word remains as a beacon for those who are yet to come, a testament to the reality of the sacred and the possibility of the divine encounter. Each generation must find its own way along the eternal path, yet the light of the luminaries is constant and unchanging. The inheritance is always available to those who are willing to pay the price of the journey, the price of a life surrendered to the highest truth. The scribe looks upon the finished work with a sense of profound humility, knowing that the words were not their own, but were breathed through them by the same Spirit that moves the stars. The divine symphony is a collective masterpiece, a collaboration between the Creator and the created, and every soul has a part to play in its unfolding. As the final reflection ends, the scribe stands and prepares to leave the chamber, leaving the parchment behind for the world to find. The journey of the scribe is over, but the journey of the truth is eternal. The call of the chosen will continue to ring out through the ages, inviting all who thirst to come to the waters of life and drink their fill. The inheritance is waiting, the path is prepared, and the home is ready. Let the symphony play on forever and ever in the halls of the eternal kingdom, where the light of the One is the only sun, and the love of the One is the only law. The profound truths of the 7 luminaries are now etched not only on the page, but into the very structure of the universe. They are the laws of the spiritual realm, the principles of the divine ascent. To live in harmony with these truths is to live in the fullness of the inheritance. It is to walk the earth with the confidence of an heir and the humility of a servant. The sanctified call is a call to a life of meaning, a life that transcends the limitations of the material world and touches the hem of the divine garment. As the scribe departs, the silence of the chamber is filled with a soft radiance, a lingering presence of the sacred that will never truly fade. The eternal path is a road of glory, and the chosen are those who have found the courage to walk it to the very end. The return to the eternal home is not a departure from reality, but an entrance into the only reality that truly exists. In the end, there is only the One, and we are the children of that One, returning at last to the place where we belong. The symphony is complete, the path is inherited, and the scribe is at peace. All is well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well in the eternal light of the divine presence.